Hey everybody, welcome to the Steelfist podcast. Today, just me, so I'm just going to be going over the Steelfist Thunder card that took place just over a week ago on November 15th. Kicking off with our first fight of the night, kickboxing match of Chance Ishmael coming in against Skylar McBride. Chance was putting up some pretty decent boxing combinations against Skylar, but really the leg kicks were what finished out the fight pretty quickly. So Skylar just staying composed or sticking with what was effective was the leg kicks. Chance really didn't show any attempt to check any of those kicks, and they seemed to take a pretty heavy toll pretty quickly. So, great job, Skylar McBride. I know he's been working up with those one-hit guys and just improving his striking. And as for Chance, he's going down to 145. He says he's going to start training a bit more consistently. He's just had a lot of life stuff going on, so we're hopefully going to be able to see him back. 145 pounds in MMA. It'll do good for him. I'm hoping that his knee turns out to be all right and he just takes the proper time he needs to recover. Moving on to our next match, we had Joey Scott out of Tooele MMA coming in against Giovanni Carrillo out of Brute Force Fight Team. I was talking to Giovanni right after the fight. Historically, small town teams don't necessarily have like the best high quality training that they can get. For Giovanni to come in on short notice up against Joey Scott, and who in my opinion is one of the best strikers, and put on as good of a match as he did is phenomenal, especially considering the small town team background that I talked about. Brute Force Fight Team has been doing a lot of really good things. Big fan of that team, and for them to come from basically being garage warriors to competing at the high level, like Benjamin Franklin, who we'll be talking about here in a bit, they're a phenomenal team. But Joey Scott is just those levels ahead. He's super slick, super sharp with his striking. He has a lot of power for 125. Joey Scott's going to do a lot of really big things, and I'm excited to watch his career continue to grow. Big fan of both of these guys. It was a phenomenal fight for both of them. Moving on, we had Logan Shell coming in against Andy Garcia. Both of these guys, this was probably one of the more high-level technical matches that we had seen that night. Logan Shell, big fan of his, and I was able to actually train with him and spar with him a little bit, and I was really surprised at, I think he's 18 or 19, just his skill level that he was at that point. And Andy Garcia, didn't really know very much about him or his team, but these guys both came out and put on a really great matchup. Super technical battle. Really the biggest thing that kind of turned the tide for Andy Garcia to be able to get the win was just the conditioning. He just seemed to be able to push the pace a little bit longer than Logan Shell was able to keep up with. But overall, that was a fantastic matchup for both of those guys. Okay, we are moving on now to our first women's Muay Thai match. Caitlin Nettle up against Morgan Marsh. Caitlin Nettle and her teammate, Catherine O'Hara, Easton Training Center, phenomenal team. I was not very familiar with them, or I was not at all familiar with them coming into this matchup. Wasn't really sure what to expect. So when they came out and they dominated it and put on as fantastic performances as they did, this gym and this team is legit. So I'm excited to keep on just watching them grow as much as I can. Caitlin Nettle, she was doing really good about using her range up against Morgan, who was the shorter fighter. And every time Morgan would push the pace to get inside, Caitlin would just tie up with her and start dominating in the clinch. So just completely was able to shut out Morgan's game. Morgan, now she's training with Fight City. I really like that team. I like all the guys over there. Super solid team. And I think she's new there. So we're going to see her career continue to develop and grow as she's working with that team. And I'm excited to see what she does next. Moving on, we had Andre Stevens Jr. coming in against Darian Orvin. This fight was pretty fun, a lot of really fast paced. So for me, and we kind of saw it in the first round, I knew if I was going to go point for point with Andre, it would be a super close matchup. So I knew I had to kind of push the pace, and that was basically my game plan. Like we saw in the first round that one of the judges scored the round for him because that's when he had the most energy. And it was close. But I knew just with my cardio and my pace that I can put on just from my experience that I would be able to completely shut out his game. He was super solid with his striking and his counters, his left hook. He caught me with 97 times. So he has a really good left hook. He has a lot of really good potential. I'm excited to see him continue to grow. As for me, I know last time I said was my last Muay Thai fight, but then this one came up. No one else wanted to fight me in MMA for the rest of the year, and he couldn't find an opponent, so I stepped in for one more Muay Thai. So that's probably it for me for Muay Thai. I'm planning on going pro in MMA next year, so we'll see. Maybe I'll do pro Muay Thai, but not really my focus. Okay, next we had Catherine O'Hara coming in against Brittany Parsons. And, you know, Catherine with Easton Training Center, those guys, awesome. Like I was saying earlier, she was just spamming that left kick, and it was powerful, and it was hard for Brittany to really find an answer for it. But Brittany showed her toughness and her grit and was able to put some boxing combinations together up against Catherine, and that's really where she was finding the most success. But that left kick, I believe she caught her in the liver and gave her an 8 count, and was also a lot taller and did really good about using her range. So great fight by both of these ladies. It was fight of the night, so I had a lot of fun watching it, as did everybody, and can't wait to see what is next for both of these. Okay, then we had Rod Payne coming in against Edmundo Rodriguez. I was really impressed with Rod Payne. Edmundo, I don't know much about, or I didn't know much about him or his style, and you know, he was able to get the win, and he looked really good. He had good output, good pace, good power, fantastic boxing combinations. Edmundo was definitely in control of that fight. The reason I'm so impressed with Rod Payne is when you're going in there, getting your nose broken, your orbital broken, 2 black guys, and you're just kind of getting whooped. He stood in there and he continued on with the fight the whole entire time, and you know, he did a really great job. It's easy once you have all that going on. You're losing the fight, you have your broken nose, it's easy to find a way out and to quit, but he didn't. He stuck through and continued on the whole entire time. But Edmundo was just dominant in that fight. So Edmundo, Fight City guy, really big fan of those guys striking. And Rod Payne's improvements from where we had seen him, I cornered him in his fight up in Wyoming. Just the improvements that he's made over the short time working with Salt Lake Muay Thai. You know, congratulations Rod on just your performance, and congrats Edmundo on your win. All right, moving on, we had Aiden Robinson out of Empower up against Jagger Seigman. Hopefully I said your last name right, Jagger. So Empower is more of a Muay Thai gym, so I was excited to see more stand-up from him, but that's not necessarily what we got. He was able to just kind of jump guard on Jagger, and Jagger stayed in the guard a little bit too long until that armbar was able to get locked on. And Aiden Robinson, now 2-0, 2 Steelfist events in a row. He's signed up for his 3rd Steelfist event in a row. This guy's doing everything right that you need to do as a up-and-coming amateur, training with a good gym, and win or lose, which right now he's winning, getting right back on the card, right back on the horse, and continuing to compete as an amateur. So really excited. I'm a big fan of Aiden, and as for Jagger, hopefully we get to see him a little bit more. I saw him yesterday when I was up training in Idaho. I wasn't able to spar with him or anything like that, but excited to see when he comes back. Moving on, we had Bryce Smith up against Chris Kiachaloon. Bryce Smith is super scrappy, and he gave this immediate rematch to Chris, and it's hard for people who have formal training like Chris does to really find their timing and their range and all that stuff on someone who's so unorthodox and scrappy as Bryce is. Bryce got a guillotine that looked pretty deep. Chris was able to just get the reversal, pop his head out, and land some ground and pound to get the win. So these guys are now 1-1, but I believe I saw that Bryce Smith is hopping right back on the next card, which is January 18th, so keep a lookout for him. And as for Chris, congratulations on your win. I'm excited to see when he returns. Okay, Alex Godoy against Salense Rapone. Godoy just with, you know, incredible power, able to get a 1st round knockout of the night. I was really excited for this matchup because I know both these guys are sluggers, both these guys are powerful, and it was over quick. Rapone and Fight City team, super good striking. Alex Godoy is a champs gym guy, so these are 2 really good striking gyms coming up against each other, and it was really just that close. If you watch the fight, Godoy throws a right hook, Salense goes up to block it, and it just barely misses the block and clips him on the ear, and that's what dropped him. It was really just like an inch or 2 off, and that small of an adjustment to make just shows how dangerous and how small, like, margin of error you have in the sport up against some of the best strikers or more powerful guys that we have. So congratulations, Alex, on your win. And as for Rapone, can't wait to see you return. All right, then moving on, we had Leo Figueroa up against Linnell Woodhouse. Linnell Woodhouse, I believe he has a wrestling background. Very quickly able to get the takedown and get to Leo's back and was able to choke him out. So Leo, not totally sure on what all went wrong. I've never seen a rear naked choke that, you know, kind of required somebody to be taken away in an ambulance. There is a lot of stuff that can go wrong when you're as strong as Linnell is and you're cranking on someone's neck. It could be really bad. So last I heard, Leo's doing pretty good. He's recovering well, and that's what's most important. So he's able to just return, keep on training once he's more healthy. But luckily, as far as I'm aware, it's non-permanent damage, so he'll be back, you know, within the next couple months, back to training at least. And as for Linnell, he's looking to hop right back on the card as well. All right, then moving on to 170 pounds, we had Benjamin Franklin up against Sitiveni Lakai. This fight kind of just went how I was expecting it to. Lakai just has a ton of power, and it's hard to mess with. It's scary to mess with. You have to engage with it, especially in those small gloves. And having seen the margin of error that we did with Solense Rapone coming up against Alex Godoy, it's a dangerous game for Ben Franklin to be playing with Lakai. So Ben just went with the path to victory that he has, which is getting the takedown and getting the submission. And he was really quick with it. So Benjamin Franklin, I believe now he's 4-1 or 5-1, super good record at 170 pounds. And he's got to be right in line for a title shot. So next fight, we see Benjamin Franklin. I bet he's going to be fighting for the title at 170 pounds. And as for Lakai, I just hope to see him continue to work on his grappling. That's just where all of his losses are coming from, is that hole there. So hopefully he's able to get into a situation as to where he can address that issue. Then for our co-main, we had Edgar Sorto up against Michael Jamie-Dorge. Michael's submission game is just too slick, too good. He's really fast and he's strong as well. So they had a little bit of a striking engagement up until the time that Edgar shot, and as soon as he shot, he shot with his neck a little bit too low, and Michael was able to slap on the anaconda or the darce. I'm not sure how the finish ended up coming up, but he was able to get him with the submission in the first round. So Michael probably right back in line for a title shot here. We're just gonna have to see what happens with Kawhi Thompson, the current 135-pound champion, if he wants to rematch, or if he's going to bring someone out of state, or if he's gonna go pro. A lot of different options, but Michael is right there, ready to go and fight for the title. Moving on to now our main event, we had Brandon Grundy up against Hayden Brown, two high-level wrestlers, very powerful, they're heavyweights. So, you know, we just saw a lot of hand fighting with bits of explosions, trying to go for takedowns, trying to go for strikes, and it ended up just coming out to a decision of just back and forth, you know, kind of hard to score, but I'm not going to say necessarily that this is a bad thing when you're dealing with someone who has as much power and experience as heavyweights do and big wrestlers do. So Hayden Brown was able to get the split decision win and is now moving on in his pro career. And as for Brandon Grundy, he pops in from time to time, so I'm sure we will be seeing him again. So that's the end of the recap of Steelfist Thunder. That happened on November 15th. Next event is January 18th, about 2 months away. So we hope to see you guys all there, and thank you for watching.